In the previous movie, I showed you how to use cell references and formulas. In this movie, I'll go into more detail about what happens when you copy those formulas and show you how to manage what changes and what doesn't by using relative and absolute references. As my sample file, I will use the Relative and Absolute Workbook. You can find it in the Chapter 1 folder of the Exercise Files collection. In this workbook, I have a single worksheet, and what I want to do is determine how an investment grows over time. So I have a growth rate of 7% and an original investment of $145,000. And my goal is to see how the investment grows over time. So I have my initial investment, and then it will grow by 7% in the year 2017. And then that amount, which will be calculated in B3, would grow by 7% without calculation in B4, and so on. I'll start by creating the first formula. So I'll type in equal sign, and then I have my investment, which is in cell B2, and then I will multiply that by, in parentheses, 1 plus the value in B1, and type a right parentheses, and press enter. There I get my correct result of $155,150. Now let's see what happens when I copy the formula to the remaining cells here. So I'll click cell B3, and I will position my mouse pointer over the bottom right-hand corner, and then I will grab the fill handle at the bottom right corner of the cell and drag down. This copies the formula down to cell B11, and I get a bunch of number signs which tell me that the value is too big to fit in the cell. And if I drag the border of column B to the right, then I see that, wow, I've got some incredibly large numbers there. So that means there is definitely something wrong with my formula, that this is way more than a 7% growth rate. So to undo my changes, I will press Ctrl-Z. So there's the first one, and then there's the second one. Right, so we need to figure out what went wrong, and let's see what happened. I will drag the fill handle down just one cell to cell B4, and then I will drag over to the side to display the value, and then click in cell B4 to display the formula. So the formula is multiplying the value in B3 by 1 plus B2, which is 145,000. So no wonder I'm getting these huge numbers. So what I need to do is to fix the reference to the growth rate, that is the value in cell B1, so it doesn't change. I can do that by using an absolute reference. I'll press Ctrl-Z twice to undo the formula extension and copy that I did. Now I will double-click cell B3 so I can edit, and then I will click within the cell B1 reference, and I will press the F4 key. The F4 key changed the cell reference from just the letter B and the number 1 to a $sign followed by a B, then a $sign followed by the number 1. What that means is that the reference will not change. It has gone from a relative reference, which can change when you copy it to a new cell, to an absolute reference, which doesn't change. You can type the $signs by hand, but I find that using the F4 key is much easier. Another benefit of using the F4 key is that you can press it multiple times to get different combinations of absolute columns and absolute rows. So if I were to press F4 again, then column B would change and row 1 would stay the same. Press it again, and then the column B would stay the same and 1 would change. And then pressing it again takes you to a relative reference where both row and column can change. Pressing F4 again takes you back to the beginning of the cycle, which is what I want. So I'll press enter. I get the same result as before, but now when I click B3 and drag the fill handle down to cover cell B11, I see a much more reasonable set of values, and I believe that this is the correct calculation for growth rates of 7% based on an original investment of $145,000. There are a lot of ways to combine relative and absolute references in your formulas. Based on the information that I've given you here, experiment and find the formulas that work for your precise calculation.